My name is Hannah Mercer, and I'm 32 years old. I drove 4 hours for a chair that didn't exist anymore. Christmas morning, the highway from Boston to my parents' town was mostly empty. Just me, a few salt trucks, and the occasional SUV with a crooked tree strapped to the roof. I had the usual cargo in the back seat, a bag of neatly wrapped gifts, a bottle of decent wine, and a pie I did not bake, but paid $40 for at a bakery in Back Bay. My mom likes to say I never contribute anything homemade, so I brought expensive store-bought and silence. My boyfriend Ryan had wanted to come with me this year. His family lives on the other side of the state, and he'd suggested we split the holiday, morning with mine, evening with his. But the idea of introducing him to my family felt like bringing a glass sculpture into a demolition site. Maybe next year, I'd told him. Work's been insane. They're already on edge. He'd given me that soft, searching look he does when he knows I'm not telling the whole truth. If they say anything about you, he'd said, I expect a full report. I'm retired from tolerating toxic people. Melissa used up my lifetime quota. Melissa, his ex-girlfriend, the one who used his panic attacks as leverage, who told him he was exhausting whenever he set a boundary. I'd heard enough stories about her to know why Ryan had such a low tolerance for cruelty, disguised as concern. You'll be fine, he had said that morning over FaceTime, mug in hand. If it gets bad, just leave. You don't owe them a performance. I'd laughed it off. It's Christmas. What's the worst they can do? I found out. The driveway was already full when I pulled up. Cars wedged at odd angles, my sister Paige's SUV half on the lawn. I parked on the street, grabbed the gifts, the wine, the pie, and walked up the front steps expecting the usual chaos. Kids running with sticky hands, my Aunt Meredith burning bacon, my dad pretending he remembered what I do for work. Instead, I opened the door to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the loaded kind. The kind that feels like you walked into a conversation mid-sentence and everyone swallowed the rest. I stepped inside, my boots squeaking on the entryway tile. Somewhere in the house, a timer beeped and was hurriedly shut off. Then I saw the dining table. 6 seats, holiday plates, name cards. And where my name should have been, nothing. Just a coat. Black, expensive looking. Draped over the back of the chair like someone already owned it. That someone was sitting across from it, laughing with my dad like they'd been best friends for years. I recognized him without ever having seen him before. Dave, Paige's new boyfriend, real estate, motivational podcast, teeth so white they looked filtered in real life. I'd heard about him in every family call for the last 2 months. How driven he was, how good with the kids, how he got along with everyone. Everyone, apparently, except me. Hey, I managed. Merry Christmas. My dad glanced over, eyes flicking to the pie. You made it, he said, like he hadn't been sure I would. Long drive? 4 hours, I said. Traffic was fine. Before I could say anything else, my mom stepped out from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She saw me standing there, arms full. Her face didn't soften. Oh, she said, Hannah, you're early? It was 9:47 a.m. Christmas at our house usually started at 8. I brought the pie you like, I said, forcing a smile, from that place in Back Bay. She nodded, non-committal. You didn't have to do that. You're always saying I never bring anything, I reminded her. Right, she said, already turning back toward the kitchen. Well, this year we're only having our closest family members at the table. Things are tighter, you understand. She said it like I was a neighbor who dropped by uninvited. Closest family members. I looked at the table again. 6 seats. My parents, my sister, her 2 kids, and, apparently, her new boyfriend. My chair was gone. Not metaphorically. Physically gone. There was no place set for me. I waited for someone to laugh. To say, we're kidding, of course you're sitting with us. Nobody did. Dave offered me a friendly half wave from his spot. Hey, you must be Hannah, he said, like we were meeting at a networking event. I've heard a lot about you. I stared at him, then at my mother's back as she retreated into the kitchen. Something in my chest went very, very still. I'm going to put these in the car, I said. My voice sounded distant in my own ears. I forgot something. Nobody stopped me. I walked out, closed the door behind me, and kept walking until I was back in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, breath fogging the cold air. The pie was still warm on the passenger seat. The wine bottle sweated condensation. My fingers weren't shaking. I wasn't angry, not yet. I just felt displaced, like someone had quietly moved my life an inch to the left and expected me not to notice. Out of habit, I pulled out my phone and opened the family group chat. The usual stream of chaos was there. Photos of my cousin's kids tearing into wrapping paper, blurry mimosas, an out-of-focus shot of my uncle wearing a Santa hat. Then a new message popped up from my cousin Eric. Thank God the depression left lol. 3 people reacted with laughing emojis. One of them was my mother. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. They knew. Every single one of them knew what the depression meant. The 6 months last year when I stopped sleeping and started shaking. The ER visit when I was convinced my heart was failing. The time my manager walked me out of the office because I couldn't breathe. The text I sent to the family chat at my lowest, saying I was scared of myself. They had seen all of that, and now it was a punchline. Something snapped. It didn't feel like rage. It felt like a switch flipping from endure to enough. I opened my banking app. First thing to go was the auto transfer that covered my parents' electric bill every month, the one they never acknowledged out loud. Gone. Next, the scheduled payment to the caterer for my mom's big birthday party next month, the one I'd quietly agreed to finish paying off because things were tight. Canceled. The shared Google Drive I paid for so everyone could coordinate holidays and split costs. Deleted. Let them figure out logistics without my card on file. Then I navigated to the credit line I'd opened last winter when their furnace died. The one in my name, the one I'd been chipping away at for months while they posted photos captioned, "So blessed." Closed. At 10:11 a.m., the group chat lit up. "Hannah, where are you? Don't ignore us. This is childish. Your mother is crying." No apology. No, we're sorry about the seat. No, Eric, that was out of line. Just panic. Because their backup plan was driving away. I slid my phone into the glove compartment and shut it. Then I started the engine and drove. I ended up at a diner 20 minutes away, the kind with cracked red booths and waitresses who call you hun without thinking about it. I ordered eggs I didn't want and coffee I barely tasted. While the plate sat cooling in front of me, I stared at my reflection in the dark diner window and thought about something they didn't know I knew. 2 weeks ago, a Tuesday night, a towel. My Aunt Meredith's voice, shaking through the phone as she told me how Dave had snapped when his youngest spilled juice on his laptop, how he'd grabbed a towel and swung it, how it left a red mark on her arm, how the older girl had started locking her door at night, how Meredith had begged me not to say anything. "Please, Hannah, we'll handle it privately. It'll destroy the family if you report it." This morning my mother told me I wasn't really family. So now I'm free. And the next move is mine. 2 weeks before Christmas, my phone lit up with Aunt Meredith's name at 11:23 p.m. She never called that late, or at all, really. For a second, I considered letting it go to voicemail. I was already in bed, blue light filter on, documentary humming quietly in the background. But something in my stomach twisted. I answered. "Hey, Mary," I said, trying to sound casual. "Everything okay?" All I heard at first was breathing, wet, jagged breathing. "Hannah," she choked. My whole body went still. "Yeah, I'm here." She tried to speak and broke instead, sobs tearing through the line. I sat up, blankets sliding off my legs. "What happened?" I asked. "Is it the girls? Is everyone safe?" There was a clatter in the background, a door closing, then the muffled sound of someone pacing. "It was just a bad night," she said finally, words tripping over each other. "He's under a lot of stress. Work, the podcast, the housing market. He's just on edge." "Meredith," I said quietly, "what did he do?" She sucked in a breath. "The little one spilled juice," she whispered. "On his laptop. He'd been drinking. He grabbed the towel, swung it. It hit her arm." Silence. "Hard," she added, voice cracking. "Red mark right away." My hand tightened around the phone. "On her arm?" "Not her face," she said quickly, like that made it better. "Not her face, Hannah. He didn't punch her. It was just the towel." "Just the towel," I repeated. "And the other times?" The line went quiet again. "Not the first time," she admitted. "Not the worst." My heart thudded once, hard. "Meredith, the older one's been locking her door at night," she blurted. "I found a dent in the wall near her bed. He said it was from when he tripped. She didn't correct him." I closed my eyes, saw it. Small hands, small shoulders, small bodies trying to disappear in their own rooms. "Have you called anyone?" I asked. "A hotline, the school, CPS?" "You know how people are," she whispered. "They'll twist it. They'll make me look like a bad mother for staying, like I didn't protect them. And Dave? He said if I drag the family into it, he'll leave and take the girls. He can't just... He told me to shut up and keep it in the family," she said. "Said it was just stress, that he didn't mean it, that it wasn't even a hit, just a towel." I could hear a child's voice in the background asking for water. Meredith whispered something, voice wobbling, then came back. "Please, Hannah," she begged. Don't tell anyone. Please, we'll handle it privately. It'll destroy the family if you report it. You'll destroy the family. I'd heard versions of that sentence my entire life. Whenever someone drank too much, whenever someone said something cruel, whenever someone crossed a line we all pretended wasn't there. I stared at the cracked paint on my ceiling, my pulse pounding in my ears. Okay, I said finally, I won't say anything. It felt disgusting the second I said it, but I said it anyway, because back then I still thought I was protecting something worth keeping. Back in the diner, my eggs had gone cold, congealing into yellow rubber on the plate. I pushed them around with my fork while the words from the group chat replayed in my head. Thank God the depression left Lowell. 3 laughing emojis, one of them from my mother. They knew about that 3 a.m. ER visit when I thought my lungs were collapsing. They knew about the months I disappeared into my apartment, barely dragging myself to work. They knew about the message I sent to the family chat last year. I'm not okay. I don't know what to do. They had seen my worst moment. And today my worst moment was the punchline. Meanwhile, the man who swung a towel hard enough to leave a mark on a child was sitting in my chair, wearing his coat over it like a claim flag. Nobody was making jokes about his anger. Just my illness. I took my phone back out of the glove compartment, opened my photos, found the screenshot of Meredith's text from that night, blurry because her hands had been shaking, but clear enough. He snapped. Red mark already. Not the first time the girls are scared, Hannah. Then I scrolled to the voice memos. I hadn't meant to record the call, not at first. I'd hit the button by accident when I fumbled my phone on the bed. But when I realized, I didn't stop it. I'd told myself it was just so I could remember everything clearly if I needed to talk to her again. Now I understood it was evidence. I opened the browser and typed in the words, Report Child Abuse, Massachusetts. It took less than a minute to find the official site for the Department of Children and Families. There was a hotline number and an online reporting form. My hands were steady. The form looked simple. Checkboxes, text fields, a place to upload files. Name of alleged perpetrator, name and ages of children, description of incident, pattern of behavior. I filled in each blank slowly, carefully. I attached the screenshots of Meredith's messages. I attached the audio file. When it asked if I wanted to remain anonymous, my cursor hovered for a second. Then I checked no. If they wanted a villain in this story, they might as well spell my name right. Before I hit submit, my phone buzzed again. Mom, you need to stop being dramatic and come back. This is ridiculous. Paige, we saved you a plate. Can you please stop sulking? Eric, OMG, was that about you? Chill, cuz. It was a joke. I hit submit. The confirmation page popped up. Report received. Case number assigned. Thank you. That was it. No dramatic siren sound. No flashing red banner. Just 10 minutes. 10 minutes to change the trajectory of 2 girls' lives, or at least force adults to look at what they'd been ignoring. I walked back to the motel I'd booked at the last minute, a sad little place off the highway with floral bedspreads and buzzing lights. By the time I kicked off my boots and sank onto the bed, my phone was ringing again. Mom, then Paige, then Aunt Meredith. My stomach twisted. I let it go to voicemail. Instead, I opened a food app and ordered Chinese, lo mein, dumplings, soup. It arrived in a greasy paper bag that smelled like comfort, but when I sat cross-legged on the bed and tried to eat, everything tasted like cardboard. The TV played some holiday baking competition on low volume, people laughing, flour everywhere, judges pretending to be shocked when a cake collapsed. My phone buzzed against the nightstand. Again. 10 missed calls, 14 new messages. I finally checked them. Mom, did you really do this? Mom, you don't understand. This is serious, Hannah. Mom, you will ruin his life. Paige, was that necessary? Seriously? Paige, we could have handled it within the family. Eric, WTF? Did you do? CPS? I stared at the screen, then typed 2 words to Paige. You started. I didn't mean the joke. I meant the chair. The message went through. She didn't respond. The next morning, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Local area code. Hello? Hi, is this Hannah Mercer? A woman's voice asked. Calm. Professional. Yes. This is Angela calling from the Department of Children and Families. I'm just confirming we received your report. We may need follow-up clarification, but for now, I wanted to acknowledge that your documentation was very thorough. We take these situations seriously. She didn't sound surprised. Like this wasn't the first time someone had said Dave's name to her. Something cold settled in my chest. Will the girls be okay? I asked. We'll be in touch with the family shortly, she said. I can't share details, but you did the right thing." We ended the call. I stared at the motel ceiling, paint peeling in one corner, and realized something strange. I didn't feel guilty. Not a bit. They'd told me I wasn't family that morning when they gave my chair away. All I'd done was believe them and act accordingly. The fallout didn't come as an explosion. It came as a steady, relentless cracking, like ice splitting under pressure. By December 27th, 3 days after Christmas, my phone looked like a battlefield. Missed calls, voicemails, group chat messages multiplying in panicked clusters. But I didn't respond, not to any of them, not even to the ones pretending to be concerned. Instead, I sat by the motel window with cold lo mein on the nightstand and watched flurries dust the parking lot, feeling absolutely nothing. I thought the silence would last longer, that maybe they'd let the whole thing simmer before they cracked. I was wrong. The next morning, my mom texted a picture. It was the family gathered around the Christmas tree. Paige, the kids, my dad, even Dave, all grinning with plates of leftovers. My chair, usually between Paige and Dad, wasn't just empty. It was cropped out, removed, as if the space had never existed. The caption said, "Blessed beyond measure." I didn't react. I just locked my phone and lay back on the stiff motel pillows, eyes tracing the cracks in the ceiling. Around noon, things shifted. A new message, this time from Paige. "Was that really necessary, Hannah?" I didn't bother replying. That night, while I sat on the motel bed watching reruns of a baking show on mute, my screen lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring out. Then another call. Same number. Another. Same number. On the fourth, I finally picked up. "Hello?" The voice was small, shaky. "Aunt Hannah?" I exhaled. Lily. My younger cousin. The only one who never laughed at the family jokes. The only one who had ever quietly asked if I was okay during my worst months. The only person with a functioning conscience. "I'm sorry to call," she whispered, "but you need to know what's happening." I sat forward on the bed, pulse quickening. "Tell me." She took a long breath. "CPS has been to Dave and Meredith's twice. The older girl, she talked. She told them Dave hit her before and pushed the little one into a wall during an argument about toothpaste. They both said they're scared of him." My stomach twisted. The motel room felt suddenly too warm. "They pulled the girls," Lily continued, "temporarily. They've been staying with me and Sam." Sam, her girlfriend. The one the family pretended didn't exist. Safe hands. "How are they?" I asked. "Shaken," Lily said. "But better. They sleep through the night here. Meredith is losing it. She's terrified they'll take the kids permanently." I rubbed a hand over my face. "And Dave? He's telling everyone it was an accident, that the bruise was from a door frame. Or the dog. Depends on who he's talking to. But—" She swallowed. "Everyone else is blaming you." "Of course they are," I murmured. "No," she said quickly. "I mean it. They're actually scared. Grandma said you went nuclear. Uncle Mark said you're unstable. Mom said you're dangerous because you keep receipts. And your mom, she said the worst." "What did she say?" "That you've been waiting for a moment like this, to make the family pay for how they treated you." I let the silence stretch. Lily's breathing crackled faintly through the line. "I just wanted to warn you," she said. "They're going to try to get to you, guilt you, pull you in so you drop the report." "I won't." "I know," she whispered. "That's why they're scared." That hit harder than anything else she'd said. They weren't scared of losing Dave. They weren't scared of CPS. They weren't scared for the girls. They were scared of me. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't bending. Wasn't the one smoothing things over. Wasn't the family's emergency fund. Wasn't their emotional landfill. Wasn't their quiet enabler. I'd stopped absorbing the damage and started reflecting it back. "Hannah?" "Yeah." "You're doing the right thing," she whispered. "It's just, the family doesn't know how to handle someone who doesn't play along." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Thank you for calling, for telling me." "Please stay safe," she said. "They're angry and confused and unhinged. Don't answer if they show up. Don't go anywhere alone to talk, and don't let them guilt you into undoing this." "I won't," I said. After we hung up, I walked outside into the parking lot. Snowflakes melted instantly on my cheeks, cold in the best possible way. For the first time since Christmas morning, the fog in my mind lifted. I wasn't just doing this for Meredith, or the girls, or some moral high ground. I was doing it because someone had to. Because silence was the family's favorite hiding spot. Because every time someone covered for Dave, 2 little girls went to bed scared. And because they had made it very clear I wasn't family, not to them, so I didn't owe them my silence. That night, I stared at the motel's tiny fire alarm blinking in the corner and let the anger finally move through me. Not the hot, explosive kind. Not the kind that makes you break things. The cold kind. The quiet kind. The kind that focuses you like a sharpened blade. I wasn't going back to fix anything. I wasn't going back to negotiate. I wasn't going back to heal a wound none of them admitted they'd inflicted. But I was going back. Not for them. For me. For the girls. For the version of myself who had broken last year with no one to call. It was time to return. Not to reclaim my seat at the table, but to flip the whole damn table over. The drive back from New Hampshire didn't feel like a retreat. It felt like marching toward something inevitable. Snow clung to the edges of the highway, plowed into gray ridges. The sky was a dull sheet of winter light. My car smelled faintly of smoke from the cabin's wood stove. I didn't play music, didn't listen to a podcast, didn't call anyone, not even Ryan, though he'd texted twice asking if I was okay. My mind was still, focused, cold in a way that felt clean. At noon, I crossed into my hometown. But I didn't go home. I went to Dave's. His neighborhood was one of those picture-perfect developments where every mailbox matched, and the lawns looked like magazine ads, except today his house looked abandoned. No car in the driveway, curtains half drawn, a recycling bin still full from Christmas. I got out of the car and zipped up my jacket. The air stung my cheeks. Snow crunched under my boots. I wasn't here to confront him. I wasn't stupid. I was here to gather evidence. I walked the perimeter like I was conducting a crime scene sweep. The side gate didn't lock. The hinges were rusting. Easy access point. Unsafe for kids. I took a photo. The backyard swing set had a cracked plastic seat, one side lower than the other. The rope frayed. Weather worn. Another photo. Trash bags piled beside the garage, torn open by animals. A broken bottle half buried in the snow. More photos. Small details maybe, but details mattered to CPS. Details established patterns. Back in my car, I plugged the address into my phone and drove straight to the courthouse. The records office was on the 3rd floor, fluorescent lights buzzing, chairs bolted to the wall, a counter with a small circular cutout in the glass. A woman behind the desk glanced up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "I'd like all available public records on this case." I slid a slip of paper under the glass with the case number Lily gave me. Her eyebrows lifted a fraction. Curiosity, maybe recognition, but she didn't comment. She took my ID, typed, printed forms, made copies. 20 minutes later, she slid a manila envelope back to me. "Everything we can release without a court order," she said. I thanked her. Back in my car, I opened the envelope with fingers that didn't shake. Incident summaries, home visit notes, interview excerpts, the older girl's statement, brief but devastating. The younger girl's drawings. Photos of bruises on a child's small forearm. It felt like swallowing glass. By the time I reached my parents' house, the sun was low, casting orange light across the snow. The driveway was full again. Same cars, same patterns, same tableau of familiarity that suddenly felt foreign. I knocked once and walked inside. I still had a key. Of course I did. I'd been their go-to emergency contact, their human safety net, their financial bailout for years. My parents were in the kitchen. The smell of ham leftovers hung in the air. My mom froze when she saw me. My dad stiffened, like he was bracing for impact. I didn't sit. I didn't take off my coat. I didn't set the envelope down gently. I placed the manila folder on the table with a soft but final thud. My mother's eyes flicked to it. "What's that?" "Read it," I said. She opened it, pulled out the top page. Her face changed. My dad frowned. "What is this, Hannah?" "Public records," I said, "from CP." He snatched a page, scanning it. This can't be." "It can," I said. "It is." My mom's voice was small. "Ongoing. Child welfare investigation. Bruising. Reported by..." She looked up at me, eyes wide. "You filed this?" "Yes." "You didn't have to do this," she snapped, emotion cracking open into outrage. "You've ruined everything." "No," I said quietly. "Dave ruined everything. I just stopped covering for him." My dad jabbed a finger at me. "Families don't air dirty laundry." "Families don't hit children," I replied. He went silent. For the first time in my life, he had nothing to say. I reached into my bag and pulled out my own list, things I'd been covering for years. The electric bill I paid every month, the furnace repair I financed, the credit line they used, the groceries, the birthdays, the little emergencies I'd solved quietly. I set it beside the manila folder. "I'm done," I said. "I'm not paying your bills. I'm not managing your problems. I'm not part of this anymore. My mom's mouth trembled. You can't just walk away from your family. You walked away first, I said. You just did it at the dinner table. Her eyes filled, but not with remorse, with fear. Fear of what losing me meant. Fear of losing their safety net. My dad swallowed hard. If you don't fix this, you're not welcome here. I almost laughed. He was late to the punchline. You made that decision for me on Christmas morning, I said. I turned, walked out. Didn't look back. That night, back in Boston, an email came from Lily. It had a video attached. The girls, safe now, laughing while decorating cookies in her kitchen. The older one smiling, timid but real. The younger one wearing a too big apron, her bruise fading. They looked free, light, unburdened. Lily typed under the video, "They're okay, thank you." For the first time in weeks, something like warmth spread through my chest. But the story wasn't done, not yet. There were loose ends, people who needed to be confronted with truth they'd spent decades avoiding. 3 days later, another message came. The family wanted a meeting. All of them. At Aunt Meredith's house. They said they just want to talk. It wasn't for me, I knew that. It was to claw back control, to drag me into their cycle of guilt and silence. But I didn't go for them. I went for the girls, for Lily, for myself. When I walked into Meredith's house, every head turned. Some faces were pale, some tight, some defiant. Dave wasn't there. Of course he wasn't. The first to speak was my sister Paige. "I'm sorry," she said. "For the chair, for the joke, for all of it. I didn't think." I nodded but didn't respond. Then Meredith spoke, voice breaking. "I knew things weren't right. I was afraid. You did what I couldn't." For the first time ever, no one interrupted her. They let her cry. They let the truth sit in the air like smoke. My mother looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. My father looked like he'd swallowed something sharp. Someone finally asked, "What do you want, Hannah?" I took a breath. "I'm not here to fix anything," I said. "I'm here to set boundaries. I'll come to holidays if I'm invited, but I'm not paying your bills. I'm not keeping your secrets. And if anything like this happens again, if you bury another situation, I'll expose it." The room went silent. Paige nodded slowly. Meredith cried. My dad stared at the table. Lily caught my eye from across the room and mouthed, "Thank you." I walked out lighter, but the final twist was still coming. 3 weeks passed. 3 quiet, suspiciously peaceful weeks. No panicked calls, no group chat explosions, no guilt-laced messages from my mother. Dave vanished entirely. His podcast deleted, his real estate website scrubbed, photos gone. Like he'd tried to erase himself before the world did it for him. The girl settled into life with Lily and her girlfriend, Sam. Safe, warm, laughing again. I stayed in Boston, reclaimed routines I'd forgotten were mine. Morning runs along the Charles, slow evenings cooking with Ryan, nights of real sleep instead of anxiety's jittery half-doze. For the first time in years, my life felt quiet. But families like mine never go silent without plotting something. It started small. A call from my mother I declined. 2 from Paige I ignored. A text from Aunt Meredith, just a heart emoji and thank you. Then, one night, after dinner with Ryan, I came home to a single white envelope sitting crookedly in my mailbox. No return address, just my name in neat handwriting. I stood on my porch under the street lamp, snow gathering at my boots, and opened it with a thumb. Inside was one sheet of paper. No greeting, no signature, just a sentence. Check your dad's accounts. Start with the renovation fund. March 18th, 2023. My pulse didn't spike, my stomach didn't drop. Instead, an eerie calm settled over me. Predatory, focused. Because while I had cut financial ties, I hadn't changed my parents' online banking access. When you've paid someone's bills for years, they get comfortable, lazy, careless. I went inside, turned on my laptop, and logged in with the saved password from the time I helped them fix a late property tax payment. 1 click, then another. There it was. On March 18th, 2023, a $14,000 wire from the credit line I opened for them last year, the one that should have been closed, had transferred into an account labeled Home Renovation Fund. My father's name on it. I checked the transaction history. Not a single renovation, not a roof repair, not a pipe fix, not even a paint purchase. Balance $13,512. They had been hoarding it, hiding it, preparing for the day I finally stopped being their walking ATM. All while pretending they were broke, struggling, barely making it, needing my help, needing me, period. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen, and let the realization sink in. Even while I was losing sleep, even while I was skipping meals to pay their surprise bills. Even while I quietly covered repairs, groceries, furnace failures, birthday parties. My dad had been siphoning money into a secret account. For himself. Not for emergencies, not for family. Just to have something I didn't know about. Just in case the disappointment of a daughter stopped funding their life. My jaw clenched until it ached. But the anger wasn't hot, it was surgical. Cold, precise, weaponized. I printed the transaction history, highlighted the $14,000 wire, printed 2 extra copies. Then I waited. I knew the next family dinner would be soon. New Year's cleanup, or Paige's youngest birthday, or some random excuse to pretend normalcy. I didn't tell Ryan, not yet. He'd have tried to talk me down, not from revenge, he would have supported that, but from the emotional minefield I was about to walk into. A week later, the invitation came. Not from my mother, from Paige. You coming to dinner Sunday? Mom's making roast. I typed back, I'll be there. When Sunday came, I arrived on time. Not early, never again, but not late either. The house looked the same from the outside. Christmas lights sagging, wreaths still hanging, even though it was mid-January. Inside, voices buzzed from the dining room. I walked in, coat still on, envelope in hand. My mother looked up first. Her smile faltered. Hannah, you came. I nodded. Didn't sit. My father was at the head of the table, carving knife resting beside a platter of roast beef. He didn't look at me. Paige gave me a small, hopeful smile. The kids waved. Aunt Meredith avoided eye contact. I walked to my dad and held out the envelope. What's this? He muttered. A gift, I said. He frowned, confused, but took it. Inside was the printed wire transaction. Highlighted, circled, dated, documented. He stared at it. I watched the blood drain from his face, slowly. Painfully, like someone unplugging a drain. My mother leaned in, read the page over his shoulder, and went pale. Paige's fork clattered onto her plate. A tense silence filled the room, a silence louder than any screaming match we'd ever had. My dad's lips parted, searching for an excuse, an explanation, a lie that could bridge the $14,000 gap between what he told me and what was true. But nothing came out. I spoke calmly, quietly, dead center of the table. You told me you were broke, I said. You let me skip meals to pay your bills. And all the while, this was sitting there. No one dared to breathe. I thought, I continued, you should have this for your records. I gave the room one last look. Not triumphant, not cruel, just done. Then I sat at the far end of the table, took a small portion of food, ate in silence, and left before dessert. They haven't invited me since. And for the first time in my life, it feels like peace.